Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Shanks is one of those characters that Oda hides everything he can about, but still leaves little hints, just enough to make us itch to piece the puzzle together. And if there's one thing that always stands out during the rare moments he shows up, aside from his insane haki and the respect everyone has for him, it's his sword, Griffin. That name was never just thrown out randomly. But here's the thing, Griffin is the name we use for the weapon. But no one's ever really seen it do anything. We've only seen Shanks holding it, sometimes with haki, sometimes just as a prop, but is it really just a normal sword? I don't think so. What if it ate a devil fruit? Even more, what if the fruit wasn't just a Griffin-type zoan, but something far bigger and far more dangerous? Like a celestial winged lion, a mythical beast that doesn't just symbolize raw power, but also authority, nobility, and even a connection to the ancient gods of the world. Let's look at what we already know. Shanks' sword has been called Griffin since the early databooks, but Oda's never clarified if that's just a nickname or if it's the name of a legendary blade. He's also never shown the sword being used in a full-on duel. When Shanks stops a Kainu at Marineford, he does it without even striking. When he shows up in chapter 1055 and blocks Aramaki's attack with Kamusari, it's all pure aura. And then in chapter 1079, when he one-shots Kid with Kamusari again, it becomes clear his Conqueror's haki is on another level. But that doesn't mean the sword is just a piece of metal. In the world of One Piece, almost every legendary weapon hides a secret. Shisui was one of the 21 great grade swords, Enma 2. Nadai Katetsu has a curse. So why would Shanks' sword only have a cool name and nothing more? That's where this theory starts to make more and more sense. Maybe Shanks' sword ate a devil fruit, and that wouldn't be weird at all. Oda has already shown that objects can eat devil fruits, like Spandam's sword that ate the elephant Zoan, or the dog in Alabasta that ate the flamethrower fruit. So why wouldn't a Yonko like Shanks do that with his own weapon? Especially if it was a mythical Zoan, one of the rarest and most powerful types, like the celestial winged lion. In mythology, this creature is usually a lion with giant wings, sometimes even horns or a sacred tail, and it symbolizes sovereignty. Not just any sovereignty, but the kind tied to the heavens, to the gods, to celestial gates. Now think about this. Shanks was at God Valley with Roger. He was raised on Roger's ship. He was found in a treasure chest after the God Valley incident, and might even be of Tenryubito blood. That's never been denied. In chapter 1086, when the Gorosei meet with Saturn to discuss what to do about Vegapunk, Shanks' flag is treated with respect, and even the Gorosei themselves act cautiously when he appears. If he has ties to the celestial dragons and also wields a sword with a sacred fruit inside it, that would explain a lot. The fruit might be a zoan-type celestial winged lion. Maybe even one of those fruits that shouldn't exist, as the Gorosei tend to say. If the sword ate the fruit and became a living weapon, that would explain why Shanks doesn't use it in a traditional way. He channels its power along with his haki, and maybe the sword has a will of its own. Remember, Oda once said, some weapons have their own personality? Enma, for example, draws out the user's haki. What if Griffin also has a soul, not just as a legendary sword, but as a mythical creature, a celestial lion? That would explain the name, the respect, and maybe even why it's so rare. Maybe Shanks found the fruit during one of Roger's expeditions, or inherited it from one of the ancient kings. And here's a cool connection. Elbaf. The giants have always been tied to gods and brute strength, but now that Elbaf is finally being explored, the gods they worship seem way older and far more dangerous than we thought. We saw the mural about the creation of the world, the ancient gods of the earth, sea, and forest, and the celestial dragons who came later as modern gods, and the sun god Nika. So where does Shanks fit into all this? He might be someone with origins at the very top of the world's power structure, but who doesn't fit into it? And maybe that's why he carries a weapon that represents both worlds, divine royalty and the free will of a man who chose the sea. A winged lion is exactly that fusion. Noble, yet wild. A celestial guardian, yet free. In chapter 1096, when Oda showed the flashback to God Valley, we saw that Roger and Garp teamed up against the Rock's pirates. But what really matters in that scene is the mystery surrounding the treasure they were fighting over. And where was Shanks during all of that? Inside a chest, abandoned, hidden, like a precious baby that needed to be taken away. That only strengthens the theory that he comes from a lineage tied to the celestial dragons. Maybe the sword's devil fruit was also recovered during that same event. Roger might have witnessed everything, took Shanks with him, and later left the fruit in his care. Years later, Shanks could have given that fruit to his own sword, feeding it this legendary power. And this winged lion wouldn't just be any creature. It would be a symbol of protection at the gates of the sky, maybe even a figure tied to the legend of the Flame Mother's chosen ones. The mural in Elbaf talks about heavenly beasts that came from the moon, along with the minks and the Lunarians. If Shanks' sword is actually one of these mythological beings, that would explain why even the gods respect him. Maybe the fruit itself comes from the heavens. Literally, a fruit created with the essence of the Flame Mother before the regular zoans even existed. A fruit so rare the world forgot it ever existed. Oda never explains things directly, but he leaves clues, and Shanks' sword never shows up without a reason. It was introduced, named after a mythical creature, but we've never actually seen the creature's form. Maybe because Oda is saving that moment. Maybe we'll finally see Griffin transform into a true winged lion when Shanks goes all out against Blackbeard, or Emu, a living sword with wings imbued with Conqueror's haki, roaring and tearing through the battlefield. That would be the real Kamusari. Not just a divine slash, but the power of the heavens channeled into a sword and a creature. And we can't forget the name Shanks carries a sense of rank or title, and his sword isn't just a weapon, it's a relic. Maybe the last physical link to the ancient celestial guardians. If the Tenryubito call themselves gods, Shanks might be the true heir of the sky. A man wielding the guardian's sword, holding a fruit that shouldn't have survived, with a past the world is afraid of, and maybe we're about to see it all erupt. In the end, Shanks' sword, Griffin, might carry far more than just a cool name. It could be the symbolic and literal key to a forgotten legacy. The idea that a celestial winged lion inspired the name makes more and more sense. The griffin represents nobility, sure, but the winged lion, that's something more. It's the guardian of the skies, the symbol of true sovereignty. And if this sword really does hold a mythical zoan linked to such a powerful and ancient creature, then it wasn't made for just any warrior. It was made for someone with honor, and that's when it all comes together. Shanks, even with his mysterious origins, has always been guided by an unshakable sense of honor. He doesn't rule through fear, he doesn't lead through brute strength, he leads through respect, through presence, through his word. And maybe that's why the sword accepted him. Maybe that's why he never swings it without purpose. Because Griffin, whether it's a griffin, a winged lion, or something even greater, is an extension of who Shanks is. Someone who carries the sky on his back but chose to walk across the sea. If the world of One Piece is about to collapse under the weight of false gods, ancient secrets, and wars for power, then Griffin might be one of the last relics of the True Order. A living weapon made to protect, not to dominate. And Shanks, the man who never kneels, may be the only one worthy of wielding it. Because sometimes true strength isn't about the attack. It's about what you choose to protect. And in the end, that's what defines true honor. So, what do you think? Could Shanks really have that sword? That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.